and I'm excited to have you all with us for today's webinar. So welcome to the South Carolina Adopt-A-Stream database. From the polls and from those who registered, I see that most folks are already in. It's a pretty good split. Half of the people on today's webinar are involved in the program in some way, and the other half are interested. So I'm excited to share what we've done this past year with the database. If everyone remembers, this database was only launched last July. It was like our July 4th fireworks was the launch of this database, and it is nonstop as far as the growth and development of this program and the database, and we'll go through a little bit of that today. So we'll start with our quick PowerPoint. Today, you have with you myself, Katie Callahan. I'm the director of the Clemson Center for Watershed Excellence up near campus, and I have, I'm very fortunate to have Alex Probst in the room today. Alex is our database developer, my daily email that we're always looking to improve this database. And when you hit technical support, a need for technical support in the database, your email goes directly to him. So he's going to help me answer some questions here today. Thank you, Alex.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
All right. A few things to keep in mind before we jump screens. Today we are looking at this database mostly from the view of a registered and certified volunteer. Only certified volunteers should be accessing the database from a login perspective. However, the data is available for anyone across the globe, and we really have seen people from across the globe looking into the database. Last time I checked, we had over 13,000 views. And that was quite a while ago, actually. So this data is available to everyone on the web, but without that personal information about the volunteer. And so also the database and what drives our edits and changes are driven by what's in our QAP. So our Quality Assurance Project Plan, which is an approved document by EPA and South Carolina DHEC, maintains the integrity of the program. So volunteers are being trained under a certified procedure. While the data is non-regulatory, it has a certain level of integrity that can direct local decision making, and we want to keep that data having a high level of integrity for our community users, watershed groups, and ourselves as users of these waterways in South Carolina. We are also never finished, so the database goes through almost weekly little updates and new pushes. We still are very much in the development mode, and we have some new phases of the database rolling out. That will be a query page that will allow us to query more specific information about sites, monitoring events, volunteers by county and by watershed, with different restrictions of who can query what, and those will be user-defined queries with date ranges. So we're looking forward to that flexibility there, as well as elements that will be further built into the database as we move forward with expanding this program beyond freshwaters. So lots happening always. We do have a reporting system, and I wanted to touch on that. So for those who are users of the data, we want to make sure you know that your data has legs. This database is set up with an automated alert. So if you are a city, county, watershed group that are interested in finding out more information about the sites that are kind of raising red flags, that red flag can be sent to you when E. coli is measured at greater than 1,000 CFU per 100 mil, pardon me there, or if there's any suspicion noted of an illicit discharge. So that includes waterways that are discolored, like the one here shown in the picture, waterways that smell like sewer, water running after several days of dry weather. Those things trigger an alert to the local community that signed up, and it also triggers an alert to DHEC, and they make the call as far as whether EQC will act on that data. So your data has legs. It's doing things. We've sent over 24 alerts through the system just this year. So if you're wishing to sign up for that alert and you're with a city or county especially, please email me at the address there or the addresses you find on our website. Finally, if you've not signed up for our e-news, I'd really like to take a moment to encourage you to sign up for our e-news. We have regular updates about events, changes in protocols, database updates. We're going to be sending more information about apps that you can use during your volunteer monitoring. So more news in there. It's not a weekly e-news by any stretch, and typically a little more often than every 2 months. So it's really based on what kind of things are happening on our side. Moving forward, please feel free to email both Karen and I. Karen Skipper, who's also here with us today on the webinar, is my co-leader in this program, and I'm very fortunate to work with DHEC and with Karen to lead the South Carolina Adopt-A-Stream program. And I want to thank DHEC certainly for their support, and thank all of you for all the work that you do to protect our local waterways and ensure that they have better management where needed. So let's jump over and get to the database itself. Pardon me a second while we switch gears here. So this is hopefully a familiar site. When you go to www.scadoptastream.org, you can quickly click on any one of, I think, 3 links right on our homepage to get to the database. And this map is also embedded right into the homepage. We have a new feature on this side. Hopefully you can see my cursor there on the left. That's to build kind of a little bit of more social awareness of where our most recently monitored sites are. So that's a new feature, as well as up top, this reminder that this is the perfect time to be doing your stream habitat assessment if you're a volunteer. So let's take a few minutes to go through what buttons exist here. So I have already logged in, and I know that because up top, I've made myself an ID for today called Kayaker, and that's where you know if you have logged in, you'll see your login name or your user ID right up there in the top left, top right. This button allows you to get some information about the site that you're on. Each page within the database has helpful tips at that question mark button. So we kind of over back to the left side. Anytime you're in the database, you can click this SC Adopt-A-Stream, get back to this home page. This is for searching, adding sampling events, searching, adding groups, or adding yourself to a group, site, searching, adding, viewing sites, and then, okay, that is valid. Certification, sorry, I started to think, who am I logged in as? This is right. SC AAS Home will get you over to the Adopt-A-Stream homepage where you can download resources, look at videos, download the handbook again, all those other tips. Please make sure you check out the resources and materials webpage, which we're already keeping updated. And this new button called My Profile. And I'll round back around to my profile by the end of this webinar. So I will take a quick breather, and well, before we jump into the database logistics, I do want to point out too that all of these pins on the map, we now have, I think, about 206 monitoring sites within the database. So congratulations, everyone. That's a lot of work that's going into that. There's some helpful information alongside each pin. What's the water body? What county? What city? Total number of sampling events, so you can easily look at, do you want to look further into this site that has 13 sites, or this site that might only have 1 event, and its date last sampled. All incredibly helpful information. And this hyperlink will bring you to that site summary page, or site profile page, as I've been calling it. So let's get started. Today, I've set myself up as a new user, so I just got my email from the trainer in the database. It comes in as an SC AAS email. Hopefully it's not in your junk box after you just got trained. That is allowing you to go ahead, create an ID. It invites you into the database. So I've gone ahead, created my ID, and I'm ready to get started. I'm going to act as if I just got trained and just became a certified volunteer with South Carolina Adopt-A-Stream. So the first thing I must do is, although I'm very excited to start creating sites, I must have a group first. We're very interested in safety and the buddy system. So I will first go over to groups, and I'm going to create my own group. So we will, this is kind of how the pace of this webinar will be. We'll go through as many of these menus and actions together as possible. So, stream. So pardon me for the typing sounds. One thing I did want to note is you can see the database is intuitive. So it's already offering me suggestions like it did for Anderson, South Carolina. So when the database is trying to offer you a suggestion and it's right, select it, because it's better chance then that there won't be misspellings or any other issues that could happen. So when you select something, it's just, that way there's an extra space between Anderson and SC or something like that. So description is a group of volunteer monitors watching Lake Hartwell Watershed. Okay, so if anybody does want to find information about my group, they know a little bit about what I'm up to. If I was creating a new group but already had some other monitoring sites, I would enter some sites here and it would pop up. So for instance, I could just, well, that might not have been. Anyway, we'll skip that because I don't have any monitored sites. I'm just creating my group. And I'll select my other self to be in my group, and I'll select Alex as well. So there we are. See, it's offering me a suggestion. I'm simply clicking it and adding the group. So I did this a little bit as a test because I'm going to show you what happens when I go to create a site. Oh, it did let me. Okay. Sometimes you have to add if you get a whoops page, when you go to add yourself to a group, or when you go to create a group, you might have to just go back and add yourself to that group. So that can happen and you'll get a whoops page. The way to overcome that is just go back and add yourself to that group. So let's add a site. So the first thing I'm going to do is select my location. Now this window is built with geolocation services. So if you are out in the field doing this on your cell phone, your screen will look like this about, and you can actually use this map. Now I'm saying about, that's not exactly how it will look, but you can use this screen, or the screen, pardon me. If you're standing at the stream, that balloon will automatically go to where you are standing if you have geolocation services turned on your phone or your iPad, and that saves a lot of the work for you afterwards. So sometimes selecting your site and adding it to the database is best done right there out in the field. And that's your first chance that you can actually also do your stream habitat assessment right there. So I'm going to choose this crossing at 18 Mile. Right here, you can zoom in. So if you're sitting back at home or at the office and trying to find, okay, where was I when I was at my site? I'm going to, sorry about that, everyone. I wanted to put this right here at the crossing. So I'm simply going to click the screen and drop that pin. And you can see some information is already completed for me, the latitude and longitude. So I'm going to put in that this is, you can see I already tested this morning, so it's giving me 18 Mile Creek Trib. I know that this is a freshwater stream, that it's in the upper Savannah Basin, and that I am working with the Pendleton Stream Watch. All of this, you can see the boxes are in gray, which means that that data is automatically in there for you. You cannot edit it, so that's pretty helpful. And we can just put, if anyone else is looking to try to find a site, let's say DHEQ follows up and wants to collect a sample, or Anderson County, we can put in that, this is accessed by dirt road with permission of property owner across from Philo, for instance. Okay, you'll see most of the time when I do this demonstration, I always put in grocery store, so it's probably not a good time. All right. One thing I wanted to mention here, if you are unsure of what watershed and what this means, this is your number. Each watershed across the country is assigned a hydrologic unit code. And the longer that number, the smaller the watershed. So it's more specific, more of the, let's say, headwater or sub-basin of a larger watershed. So longer the number, smaller the watershed. So our number is a HUC8, an 8-digit number. It's a fairly large watershed. That's why it's for the entire upper Savannah. And if you want to find out more information about how to get that number, you can use DHEC's very handy, user-friendly Watershed Atlas. And there's, I believe it's Chapter 2, is a full step-by-step process in our handbook of how to use DHEC's Watershed Atlas to find that type of information about your stream, how to look at other local water quality monitoring stations. If you want to space your station, very close to where USGS is monitoring, you can do that all through the Watershed Atlas. Okay, let's add our 18-mile creek tributary to the database now. And you can see I get a green bar telling me that I've been successful. And I just want to clue in right here on what that number means. So, and letters, pardon me, 18-mile creek tributary. So when you are naming your stream, that code, that acronym is generated. So just be watchful of how you enter a water body name, whether you use numbers or an ampersand or other kind of code in there that we want to really try to be a little bit straightforward with tributary and some consistent language in naming that stream. And then 206 is an incremental number. Each time a site is added to the database, that's an additional site. So I can tell we have 206 sites now in the database because my site ID is 206. All right, let's get back now to entering my sampling event. So I'm going to now go out and sample at my new site ECT00 or 0206. Oh, and then see, I need. All right, let me go back to, I told you I might get that whoops page. I'm going to search the group. It easily comes up, Pendleton Stream Watch, using the search feature. And all I have to do is click Add Me. And this, I wanted to demonstrate this anyway, because as you're working with other volunteers, you might start joining other groups that are monitoring in other areas of your community. And you can very simply go ahead and add yourself to that group, and then that allows you to see the data that's been collected by that group. So, or if you're affiliated with that group, you can see that site data while logged in. Okay, let's go over to sampling events, and now I should be able to add my sampling event. And look, it already knows that I only have one station as my kayaker login, and so it will only show you the stations that you are affiliated with or that you've created at that point. Remember that Pendleton Stream Watch is my own made-up group right now. So I'm going to add some other folks that are sampling with me. So I'll put in Alex here, and we sampled. Well, since we just created that site, we'll say we sampled today. And we traveled 5 miles to the site. We spent 1 hour there sampling, and it took us 15 minutes. And so all of this is automatically calculated. Just something to point out, because that data we do track as far as total volunteer time that's being given through this program and number of hours. So all of your time, it's worth something. And so we can use that data to say, this is what these volunteers are contributing as a whole across the state to our water quality management. So congratulations, folks. It really, really does add up. We'll jump over. So these tabs are all available and accessible to you as a certified volunteer monitor, though you might not use all of them, and that's okay. If you are not certified in macroinvertebrates, for instance, then you shouldn't click on that tab and start entering data, right? But if you are certified, it's there and it's available, and we don't lock anyone out from that. So for weather, we'll say that yesterday was cloudy. We had maybe an inch of rain over the past 2 days. We'll jump to observations. And these are all fairly self-explanatory, so I'll go through these pretty quickly. We can say these are important statistics to note. You know, how flashy is that stream that you're monitoring? We'll say that it was fairly high given the amount of rain that we've had. We do not have any tide level. We're in fresh waters. We have a clear stream. Did I clean the site? Was there trash there, or does it need an organized cleanup, or the site is clean? I'll just note that I cleaned the site and it was not potentially hazardous. Watercolor, a little bit brown and muddy from all that rain that we've had. Water odor. Now this is important to recognize, because if you select sewage or select actually anything other than natural, an alert will get sent out to that recipient and to DHEC. So please make sure that what you're noting is really the case when you're out in the field. Our water conditions, that's really for tidal waterways, it's not mandatory. And water clarity is clear. And again, this is a tide affiliated element. So we put in these hazardous risks and sources of bacteria for those who are following up on these sites, or perhaps other volunteers in your group, that we know there was some trash. If someone is going to go out to that site, we never want people to go out alone. However, they should be aware of any other potential concerns there. You know, was there any sources of bacteria while you were monitoring? And you can note that in case there's a high E. coli that comes back. And then, was there anything there that would not allow fish to easily pass? So that's important for any kind of stream restoration work that could possibly come from the site. So let's go ahead and upload our photos, which is a feature that I'm really excited to have in this database as a built-in catalog over time. And I will go ahead and just insert that photo. So we allow 3 photos per event. And there's really, folks, I'd like to encourage you to please upload these photos. They're really important as we build our own data inventory here in South Carolina. And picture speaks 1,000 words, especially if someone's following up. So for these demonstration purposes, I'll just upload that one photo. So we've got them marked as upstream, downstream, and additional. So flow after dry weather, this is another trigger. Don't click that unless there truly is flow after 3 or more days of dry weather. And that should be if there is even an outfall that's in the stream. So if there's not, just click no, please, if there's no outfall within the stream that you're assessing. It is important to note bankful width, because as streams like to naturally meander, we'd like to know, how are they moving? Are they getting wide? Are they getting more narrow? And so bank full, we'll make that higher. That's when it's absolutely flooded, but our active channel width is what it is existing as normal, and that's 12 feet across. Now for culverts, this is already in there as a default. If there are no culverts or pipes at the stream, just leave it. But if there is, we'll pick that up as you enter these other data points. And if there's several pipes, let's say we've got multiple discharges, nobody plans that there'll be so much impervious there, you can add more than one. Okay. We'll move on to the next tab, chemical. So you are entering this data if you are certified in the physical chemical protocol. And our meter is calibrated. We have no expired reagents, let's say. And let's go ahead and tab through this data entry. So temperature, how should this be entered? In Celsius. So we had to go through a pretty significant effort recently to convert a lot of Fahrenheit, suspicious Fahrenheit boiling waters across the state to Celsius. So please just keep in mind air and temperature. Air and water temperatures should be in Celsius, as well as our E. coli incubation, but we'll get to that in a minute. So we'll just enter 20 degrees Celsius, our water temperature. Let's say it's 18. We can just tab right through. I'm going to go through 6.0 for pH and 6.2. Now you'll notice that plus or minus 0.25. If you enter 6.5, for instance, the database will not allow you to proceed with that data entry. Per our protocol, remember the database is really driven by the integrity that is described in our QAP, and that's the expected range that is permissible for a site. So you have to keep monitoring until you get those 2 points that are within 0.25. So we'll do a nice high dissolved oxygen, and we'll do that to the first decimal here, and we'll put that in as 7.3. Conductivity. Now all of these are grayed out right now. We need to change here in time. So we'll go ahead and finish this tab, skip to bacteria. And again, you're only entering data here if you are certified in the bacterial monitoring protocol. Your blank plate is 0. I do not want our site today to generate an alert for this fake data to one of our communities. So we are not going to fail the E. coli. So we'll just put 111 E. coli was found on the plate and not scare anyone. As you all know, with our protocol, your incubation time is set. That needs to be, I'm going to actually put that needs to be incubated 24 hours plus or minus 1 hour. So that's why that incubation time start and end is important for you to enter, so we know that your data is within range, and we can put that as 12 o'clock p.m. Incubation time is automatically calculated. We must maintain our incubator at 35 degrees Celsius plus or minus 1 degree. So we'll just enter 35 there for our test. And you have the opportunity to describe any changes that you want people to be aware of. At this point, I will save this as draft. And I should have probably done that before we entered the bacteria, because you can go back from the field, or while you're in the field, put in as much of the data as you can, save it as draft, and after you've incubated your bacteria sample and run your DO, then you can save and submit your final copy. So just to let you know that that does exist, especially helpful if you're doing the stream habitat and observations in the field, and then coming back and entering all your other data. And you save some paper along the way. I won't touch too long on macroinvertebrate data in this database just because of time. However, you do choose your kick-sane or D-frame net, kick-sane or D-frame net based on the substrate of your stream, whether you're sampling a rocky bottom stream or a muddy bottom stream. You select your habitat samples, and you can choose your range of species under your sensitive, somewhat sensitive, and tolerant bugs. This is all automatically calculated for you and generates your score, both quantitatively and qualitatively for you. You can note other concerns or species that you found and move on to the next. Stream habitat, something that's new at this site that I wanted to point out is, and something that Alex and I are working on in the database right now, is bringing in all the stream habitat assessment to make sure that it's showing correctly in the site profile page. So now is that great time again to do that stream habitat assessment, and if you enter this data, please click this checkbox. That way the data records in your site profile. So we'll go through, this is also very cool on your cell phone, and I'll just show, or on your iPad, I'll just show you this happen. This changes to a scroll wheel on your phone, and very simple to enter. So we'll just enter some information here, and I'm all bored. I shouldn't be going back and forth. Left and right bank. Remember how you should be looking when doing that stream habitat assessment to determine what's left and what's right, and assuming full canopy cover. One bank can be different to the other, compared to the other, and that generates our score automatically for us. So at this point, I'll go back to our full computer screen, and I'm going to save and submit my data point. So let's look at what we did.
At the top.
Oh. Oh, it is.
It's at the top of the list.
Oh, right here. Sorry. Pardon me. So, yes, because we changed the format here that all the newest information comes up first, it is right here at the top instead of at the bottom. And I will point out that Alex has built in these ascending, descending tabs here so that you can easily sort through. Now that we have 206 sites, easily sort through by watershed, by site name, which is typically your water body name, or by the date for oldest and most recent. You can see that as a volunteer that's not associated with these groups, I can only view their data, but I can edit the site that I just created. So if you hit save and submit, this would say no here as not finalized, and you would just choose edit and you would complete that data. If you hit save as draft, that would say no here, but since we did hit save and submit, it's finalized here and we can edit the data. But let's go ahead and view it, and this is fairly new, just this past summer, that we've built in these hyperlinks to get to the site profile page. So I'll use the hyperlink to see what we've done. This is what I've been calling our site profile page. You'll see the URL, something to point out, is 206. That's my unique ID number. You can switch that out to any other site number and view that data within this profile, just like that. Here's our map. It is interactive. You can bring your little Google Man over, look at the site. My photo is uploaded. I can view it. And it's recording my one monitoring event. It should record for most of our sites the earliest that it was monitored, as well as the most recent. Very good information for anyone who's not associated with your site that's viewing it for the first time. And then we have some graphs. I'm going to jump to a site that has a little bit more data for us to play around with that feature. So if I want to go to another site, I'm going back to sites, and I'm searching here. Oh, let's try this. Hood Branch. Okay, so thanks to the folks down at Campus Discovery, we have Hood Branch that we can look at as an example that has a bunch of data and some photos that we can view and share with everyone. So I'm going to view that site's profile, and you can see their photos are adding up for the site. This is one of my favorites, so thanks. Thanks, y'all. Alex is agreeing. We love the photos. So our new features from this past summer also include the ability to graph your data and to toggle the data across two y-axes. You'll also see that the graph is interactive. These little boxes pop up and they give you the date and the details about what parameters you've toggled. So if we, for instance, want to look at the relationship with DO and water temperature, you also know that colder water holds more DO. So is colder water necessarily having a higher dissolved oxygen than some of the warmer waters? Yeah, we can start to make some of those estimates based on the data we're recording. We can look at water temperature and E. coli. And I didn't particularly pick this sample because of E. coli or this site, but I'm glad I did for today's webinar. Our standard is somewhere down here for the geometric mean, and you can really look at, again, E. coli is the red, how that goes up and down, and then dissolved oxygen a little bit above. Stretched out y-axis here. So we don't have any logarithmic scales or anything, but it's enough to assess these relationships. And if you want to do more with the data that you're finding, all of it is linked down here by its event from the most recent first to the oldest station, and this can all be brought into Excel. So very quickly you can get a site's overview of how the water quality data has been trending over time, and I will demonstrate here right now how you can move that data into Excel. So hopefully you're seeing on your screen that I've selected all the data you're not seeing that I'm hitting Command-C or Control-C, depending on which computer you're in. Now, if I just hit Command-V or Control-V, well, that wasn't supposed to happen, but it's because I'd already done this earlier. So it would, if I just hit Command-V, it would go into one line, just like a streaming number of text. But really what you want to do is right-click, paste special, select text, hit OK, and make sure that as you're doing this, you've put in what station the data you just downloaded is for. And that gives you a little bit more flexibility to create means and look at compare data over time and do a little bit more trend analysis if you're so inclined. So that is what I wanted to touch on for our data graphing. Let me just look at my notes to see what I might have missed within that. One thing I did want to also point out is that under sites, you already have the possibility to jump out to the SC Watershed Atlas. So right there to look at your Huc8. And whether you're in a trout water stream, for instance, you can also get that information from the Watershed Atlas. For all of the database, one other thing to note is that when you see that green bar, that is your signal that you've successfully added data. Okay. I apologize. I'm going to take a second to make sure that I've touched on everything I meant to within this database. Okay, and I think I have. So now I'm going to look over at the questions that people are sending in. We have a question regarding, are we able to have groups present in multiple counties? And yes, you are. I mean, that very typically happens, right? I mean, we have towns that are in 3 different counties in South Carolina. So you can be monitoring the 18-mile creek, for instance, or 23-mile creek from Pickens straight down to Anderson. You can be in the same group in multiple counties, and that's no problem at all. And another question about capturing the number of hours of non-certified volunteers. So if you bring your family out, should you be capturing all of their time out in the field? And we do not track that in the database. We only track, because we started to go down that path as far as where there's add participants. I'll go back over to adding a sampling event. So let's navigate over to that screen just to demonstrate. So you could put in other people in the participant list, but we would like that. I guess you could, but we really do not want to have to track that, just because this program is really monitoring the monitoring efforts of certified volunteers with AdoptAStream. But as far as classrooms, that will change. We are going to start to collect data on in situations where such as a class is going out, and it's the efforts and hours or impacts of working with all those kids. But it will be slightly different than in this AdoptAStream database. But the question is in regards to scouts. Anyone who has groups that they're teaching or working with that are not trained volunteers, you're welcome to email me that time, and maybe that there's a way that we can account for those separate activities, and they're really relevant to see who else is interested in this program, and we can put that perhaps in an annual report. There was also a question that was sent through registration about finding a buddy and a sampling buddy. And so we understand that people are looking for other people to monitor with. And I can tell you that that is something we really as a state team want to encourage, because of course you should be working with someone, never going out alone, but even more so that community feel of a monitoring program keeps everybody in check. It keeps you motivated. It keeps you learning from each other. It keeps you going out on a quarterly or bi-monthly basis. So we want to build Adopt-A-Stream as a very community-centric program. And I am working with a group of students on campus here at Clemson that are going to help create materials for Adopt-A-Stream hubs. So these hubs, and they could be, county offices or science center or an environmental nonprofit or land trusts and their education center, could be places where trainings are regularly held, where there's some assistance with data interpretation. Perhaps that hub also hosts a monitoring kit, and then they can use their social platforms like Facebook or other, e-news and listservs to create more of a group feel and group learning opportunities using South Carolina Adopt-A-Stream, because this program is for everyone who's out there and interested in finding out about the health of our waterways and staying educated. And so it's not, we want these other places to really use this program to grow and have more people leaning in about how local land use affects our water quality and our habitat. There was also a question that came in about sponsorship, and I wanted to jump over to address that question to our webpage at www.scadoptastream.org, which directs users to this website. You can choose Become a Sponsor, and under Sponsor, we are looking for folks, companies, communities who are interested in being a sponsor of Adopt-A-Stream and making kits available within their county or helping people get access to kits through donations. And so that is an opportunity to donate. You would be donating to a nonprofit foundation to help build this program in areas where there might not be easy access to kit. So I wanted to touch on that. We have a very good question from someone, and this is happening. So this is an Alex question, and he doesn't know that he's getting this question right now. So we have volunteers who have photos that have turned on their side. How can they edit their photos to turn them right side up?
Unfortunately, they can't right now.
Okay.
But I'm working on that, and it's on my to-do list. So very soon, they will be able to modify their images.
Any tips or anything for how they should upload their photos?
It so far has been very random in how they are turned, and I'm sorry, I don't have any.
Okay, so that is something participant who just emailed that question, I appreciate your perspective, and I have tried to edit some of those photos, but I don't know that change and that edit will hopefully address from our side, I guess, and then if there's a way that we can encourage any kind of best practice regarding upload photos, we will send that information out, but that seems to be a little bit of a hurdle that we need to work on from here, and we will have more information through the e-news and other forums about that. But please keep uploading your photos, even if they come in a little bit catawampus. We can work on that from here. I'm going to give a few minutes in case there's any other questions from our participants, and just to make sure that I have covered everything I wanted to.
My profile page.
Oh, thank you. Alex reminded me I wanted to touch on my profile page. So this is a new feature that you have access to, and we're pretty excited about the information it offers to everyone. So there's a My Info, and we'd really like to encourage the majority of our volunteers in the database. We do not have your address and contact information, and so we will hopefully be planning some events in the near future where we will send mailings out for those events. And so if you could please complete that address information, work or home, so that we can get in touch with you by mail, that would be very helpful.
They cannot complete it. as right now.
Oh, they can.
They cannot update it right now.
Okay.
They can only see that it's there.
Oh, okay.
And, if anything's wrong, contact us. We'll update it. But the ability to update is coming.
Okay. So it's not able to be edited actually right now, but that will happen soon. The My Sampling events, you can look at all your different sampling events. For ours, we're limited here, but some of you might be opening to your own screen and seeing a list of events where you can view and edit those only if those are your sites that you have entered. And then the groups that you're in, you can edit that group information by clicking on the hyperlink, and it includes your certifications and those certification end dates as well in there. So you can keep up to date as, okay, when do I need to get recertified? Okay, when you click on, so I received another question about clicking on the photo. If you click on the photo, it says you cannot get back to the data. It closes out the program. That does not happen for me. When I click on the photo, it opens in a new tab. So that is news to me. And I mean, I guess I can see how it would just go to the homepage or sign out rather than go to that site profile page. It's something we might have to get back to you on, because I'm not experiencing that issue myself. While we have y'all here, and while we wait for any other last questions, I wanted to point out the resources and materials page on our website. Now you might see a cloud that needs to be dragged into another cloud. When this opens up, this is a cloud-based server. It's a window where all these documents are being imported from another, from a cloud, I guess. And so once you drag that cloud into the other cloud, you should be able to see this table where you can download our handbook, our reduced handbook, so a smaller size document for download. The training presentations, you can scroll as more items get added. We also have our approved QOP if you wanted to read that document. Below here, data sheets are available to you for download, macro key, and a new dichotomous key that DHEC produced for our volunteers. So that's downloadable, able to be printed and brought out in the field, kind of those telling traits of different macroinvertebrates. The Aquabugs app, if you're a macroinvertebrate monitor, that is a super helpful app as you're out in the field sorting through bugs. We have 3 absolute experts that can answer questions about macros. If you are having a hard time identifying them yourself, please include photos and then resources on native plants. So when you do that stream habitat assessment, you'll be asked, what is there predominantly invasives or native species? And so the native, finding what those plants are and being able to identify invasives is very helpful. We have some videos here and a video library about monitoring, about using the database, entering data, and we encourage you to use those as well as share these materials in this program with others that you think would be interested. We don't have any other questions coming in right now. And Alex, is there anything that you wanted to add for everyone here?
Sorry, no.
Okay. Okay.
I'm responding to William's question.
Okay. Very good. Thank you. Well, I'd like to just thank everyone for your time today. Thank you for being a part of the program. And at this point, I will conclude our webinar and close out the recording. And please email me anytime, or Karen, anytime that we can help you in your course as a certified volunteer monitor or trainer. So thank you very much for being here today and supporting the program. Have a good day.